Hey there, 13th Bangalore Shorts Film Festival. The whole idea was to make a genre film, because horror in specific, because we never made a genre film. We were always making drama. So now I'm like, okay, now let's make a genre film, because I don't know why not. Because horror is one of the genres that I am not really a fan of, because because we've seen it all and they've done it all. Everything has been done. So what's so interesting about this? So I personally am not very interested in this genre, but I was like, okay, so let's try to deal with this genre, because everything in horror is a cliche. Like I said, everything has been done. So the whole idea was to play around with the cliches and make something very interesting out of the cliches. And also the idea was to make a film which would remind an audience of the the low budget Hollywood horror films from the 70s and from the 60s, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That was the idea, to have the film grain and all, not to have a very polished image. The biggest roadblock with this film is to convince the actors to act. Because one actor in specific was very adamant about not playing the part, because his wife apparently felt that the role is too crass because it had a lot of profanity. So it was quite a job to convince the dude. The biggest challenge with this film was experimenting with the lighting, because this film was made on a very shoestring budget, almost like with no money. So and we had to shoot everything in the darkness. So the biggest experiment we did with this film was with the lighting. It's not an experiment in terms of movie making, because like I said, everything has been done, but it's an experiment personally to me, because I never did anything like this before, which involved a lot of dark spaces and a lot of specific lighting. So we had to do a lot of brainstorming regarding the lighting and come up with a pattern or an imagery. So that was a very big challenge. And also the other challenge was the sound design. We usually come across a lot of horror films and they have all kinds of cliches. Like even the sound design is a cliche. Like take a builder, the jump scares are the classic horror tropes. So just to give you an example, if there's a jump scare around the corner, then there's a specific kind of sound design, like all the score that keeps hitting the audience until that point drops to zero, like it drops dead. You don't hear anything because and that makes the audience guess that a jump scare is around the corner. So that a jump scare is going to happen, and that's pretty boring, because so the whole idea was to not let an audience guess when they're going to get a jump scare. As in, they might guess from the imagery, but not at least from the sound design, because that only makes things interesting, that only amps things up and builds that builds the thrills. It makes it more thrilling. The idea was to use as minimal score as possible and to build all the horror and the ambience mostly with what's going on in the scene, the ambient noises and stuff like that. So silence plays a very major role in the sound design, ironically. And another challenge was to get the actors come together, because all these dudes are busy with their lives and they have separate jobs and stuff. So they're non-actors. So this film is actually the most accurate translation of what's written on paper, because that doesn't happen with many films. Even with this film, it's not like 100% true translation, but 90% of it was what was written on the paper. The target audience for this film are obviously the adults. I mean, it's a film that's made for adults, and also for people who don't mind watching. If you're good with scares, then this is something for you, and it's definitely a movie for adults. So you don't want to be showing this movie to your kids. That would be a very bad idea. Why should the audience watch this film? Because it's fucking fun. I wish the 13th Bangalore Shorts Film Festival all the very best. Peace out.